Welcome to the Health Headliner podcast by Tudu Digital. Our content is informational only and not medical advice. Please consult your provider. Now, let's dive into today's headlines.
Imagine a world where, that feeling you get from music, the joy, the goosebumps, maybe even tears, just isn't there.
Yeah, like you hear it perfectly fine, your hearing's okay.
Exactly. You love good food, maybe you get a kick out of winning a game or something. But when music plays, nothing. Just flat. No pleasure at all.
It's hard for most of us to even wrap our heads around, right? Music is so, fundamental to so many people's emotional lives.
It really is. And that's the condition we're going to dig into today. Specific musical anhedonia.
It sounds technical, but it's fascinating. It's about people who, for some reason, don't get pleasure from music, even though they enjoy other things.
And understanding why tells us a lot, not just about them, but maybe about how all our brains handle pleasure.
Precisely. We're drawing on some recent insights here. There's a health news piece from just recently, August 7th, 2025, and also a big scientific review from Trends in Cognitive Sciences.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack the why behind it all, what's going on in the brain, and what does it mean for, how we all experience pleasure. Let's get into it.
Sounds good.
Okay, so first up, defining specific musical anhedonia. Because like you said, it's not just someone saying, I'm not really into pop music.
Right, exactly. It's much deeper than taste or preference. Researchers really identified this maybe, 10 years ago? And it describes this small group of people who genuinely get zero pleasure from music. The key word, like you said, is specific.
Specific, meaning
their hearing is totally normal. Yeah. And they do enjoy other rewarding things. Food, money, social interaction, whatever it might be.
So it's not like they can't feel pleasure generally.
No, not at all. That would be general anhedonia, which is a much broader condition affecting enjoyment across the board. This is really focused specifically on music.
Okay, that's a crucial distinction. So how do researchers figure this out? You probably can't just tell by chatting with someone.
No, you definitely need more specific tools. The team that first studied this developed something called the Barcelona Music Reward Questionnaire, the BMRQ for short.
BMRQ.
Yeah, and it's pretty clever. It doesn't just ask, do you like music? It measures how rewarding music is across 5 different areas.
5? Wow. What kind of areas are we talking about?
Well, things like, does music evoke emotions for you? Do you use it to, say, regulate your mood, like put on upbeat music to feel better, or calm music to relax?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Then there's how music connects to social bonding, shared experiences. It's linked to wanting to dance or move, and even that feeling of seeking out new music, the novelty aspect.
Right.
People with specific musical anhedonia, they tend to score low. Consistently low across all 5 of those dimensions. It shows it's not just one aspect of music they don't connect with. It's the whole reward experience.
So just to be crystal clear, it's not a hearing issue, and it's not general anhedonia. It's also different from something like amusia, right?
That's another really important point, yes. Amusia is more about perception trouble, recognizing melodies, telling if notes are off key, that kind of thing, which could make music less enjoyable, I suppose. It could, but it doesn't always. People with amusia might still feel emotion from music, even if they can't perceive it perfectly. But with specific musical anhedonia, behavioral tests show their perception is fine. They can hear the melodies, the rhythms.
They process the sound, okay.
Exactly. They process the sound, they understand the structure, but that final step, the translation into pleasure, into reward, that connection just isn't happening.
Which leads us right into the brain, doesn't it? If they can hear it fine, and their general reward system works for other things, where's the breakdown? This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
It absolutely is. The core finding, mainly from fMRI studies brain imaging, is that it seems to be a disconnect. A specific breakdown in communication between the brain's auditory processing areas and its reward circuit.
Okay, so let me see if I've got this. Their auditory system, the part that hears the notes and rhythms.
Yeah.
Intact. Working fine.
Yep.
And the reward system, the part that lights up for chocolate or winning a bet, also intact, works for those things.
Correct. It responds normally to other rewards.
It's like having 2 perfectly good components, but the specific cable linking them just for music is faulty or unplugged.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually. The researchers involved, Joseph Marco Palares and Ernest Messerero, they've really emphasized this. The problem isn't the reward circuit itself or the auditory circuit itself.
It's the interaction.
It's the interaction, specifically when music is the input. And this really challenges older ideas that maybe reward response is just, one single on-off switch in the brain.
It suggests it's much more nuanced, like specific pathways for specific pleasures.
Exactly. More like a network with specific pathways. And for these individuals, the music pathway to reward is somehow underactive or disconnected.
So which specific brain regions are we talking about here?
Yeah.
And how is that connection supposed to work normally?
Okay, so the fMRI scans show reduced functional connectivity, basically, less coordinated activity between a region called the right superior temporal gyrus.
That's involved in hearing, right? Auditory processing.
Yes, exactly. Reduced connectivity between that area and a key part of the reward system called the nucleus accumbens. This happens specifically when people with this condition listen to music.
Right, superior temporal gyrus, nucleus accumbens. Got it. But wait, I thought you said they weren't directly connected.
Good point. They aren't directly linked. It's not a simple A to B connection. The communication seems to be routed through other important areas.
Like relay stations.
Kind of. Think of regions like the orbitofrontal cortex and the ventromedial prefrontal cortex acting as crucial hubs or maybe a switchboard.
Okay.
The signal, the auditory information has to go from the temporal gyrus through these prefrontal areas, then to the nucleus accumbens to trigger that feeling of pleasure. The integrity of those connections, STG to OFC, OFC to NACAC, seems critical.
So for people with specific musical anhedonia, the music signal goes in, gets processed as sound.
Yep.
But it gets lost or muffled somewhere in that relay system before it can properly activate the pleasure center.
That seems to be the picture emerging from the research. The signal just doesn't get through with enough strength, or perhaps in the right way, to trigger the reward response for music.
This really does flip the script on how we think about pleasure. If it's not just one big reward system, but these highly specific pathways, could there be other kinds of specific anhedonia?
That's exactly what the researchers are suggesting, and it's probably one of the biggest implications of this work. It challenges that old all-or-nothing view of reward.
So, like Marco Palares suggests, maybe there are people with specific food anhedonia.
Potentially, yes. Imagine someone not just a picky eater, but someone who gets absolutely no pleasure from eating anything, even if they're hungry, even if the food tastes objectively good to others.
Their taste buds work, but the connection to the reward center for food signals is weak.
That's the hypothesis. They might have a similar kind of connectivity issue, but between, say, taste and smell processing regions and the reward circuit. For them, a 5-star meal might feel as unrewarding as music feels to someone with musical anhedonia.
Wow. So it's not about a globally broken reward system, but these very precise, targeted disconnects. That could change how we look at other conditions too, right?
Absolutely. It could open up new ways to research things like general anhedonia, which is common in depression, or even addiction and eating disorders.
How so?
Well, instead of just looking at the reward circuit in isolation, researchers could start focusing on the interactions. How do sensory areas for sight, sound, taste, touch connect to the reward network? Are there subtle differences in connectivity strength that explain why certain things become addictive for some, or why pleasure diminishes in depression? It offers a much more fine-grained way to think about individual differences in reward processing.
It's incredibly complex. Okay, so we're getting a clearer picture, but like all science, there must be things we still don't know. What are the big unanswered questions here?
Oh, definitely still lots to learn. A big one is why? Why do some people develop this? The exact causes aren't pinned down yet.
Any clues? Genetics. Environment.
There are some strong hints from genetics, actually. Twin studies are really interesting here. They suggest that genetics might account for, maybe up to 54% of the variation in how much people enjoy music.
Over half.
Yeah, and what's really intriguing is that these genetic factors seem largely separate from the genes influencing musical ability or general reward sensitivity. It points towards a specific genetic basis just for music reward.
Suggesting it might be something you're born with or develops very early.
That seems plausible. Studies looking at young kids, like 3 to 7 years old, also hint at it being congenital or having a very early onset. Environment likely plays some role too, but the genetic link seems quite strong.
Okay. And what about the flip side? You mentioned people who don't get pleasure from music.
Yeah.
Are there people who get, too much pleasure an extreme response?
That's a great question. Yes, there's a phenomenon sometimes called musicophilia.
Musicophilia.
Right. It's basically an exaggerated sense of pleasure or engagement with music.
Yeah.
Sometimes it emerges after neurological changes like a brain injury or even with certain medications. It's like the opposite end of the spectrum from anhedonia.
Showing how finely tuned these brain systems are.
Exactly. It highlights the delicate balance of these connections.
So what's next for the researchers? Are they trying to find ways to, I don't know, reconnect that pathway or find the specific genes?
Both, actually. They're collaborating with geneticists right now, trying to
Yeah.
identify those specific genes involved.
Okay.
They also want to know if this is a stable, lifelong thing or if it can change. Does it
Right.
fluctuate? Could it potentially be reversed? That's a huge question.
Could you theoretically enhance that connection?
That's the long-term sort of therapeutic hope, perhaps. But first, they need to understand it much better. And they're also applying these same methods now to look for other potential specific anhedonias for food, for social interaction, and so on, building on what they've learned from music.
So bringing this all together,
Yeah.
what's the main takeaway for us, for listeners who probably do love music? What does this research tell us about our own experience?
I think it tells us that our experience of pleasure is incredibly sophisticated. It's not just a simple on-off switch for feeling good.
Right.
It's about these highly specific, intricate networks connecting our senses to our reward centers. It really speaks to how specialized our brains are and maybe helps explain why our individual tastes and pleasures can be so unique. Seeing where it doesn't connect helps us appreciate how amazing it is when it does.
That leads perfectly to a final thought for everyone listening. Thinking about this specific musical anhedonia, it might make you reflect on your own tastes, right? What if your unique preferences, the art you love, the food you crave, the hobbies that grip you, what if that's not just choice or habit? What if it's partly a reflection of the unique wiring in your brain? The specific strength of those connections between sensory input and your personal reward system?
It's a fascinating question.
Yeah. What other deep personal joys might be rooted in these very specific individual brain connections that make you uniquely you? Something to think about.
Thanks for tuning in to the Health Headliner podcast by To Digital. Like and subscribe for more health news and breakthroughs. Stay healthy and informed. See you next time.